So, good morning, everyone. This session is part of the Comstor Heroes program. So, if you are part of the program, then you know how this works. This is a session for you guys to learn a little bit more about security and what security products we have in our portfolio. But you'll be awarded points after you accomplish a few things after this session. So that's quite exciting. And what is the session about? This is the Firejumper Stage 1 session. And the content for Firejumper Stage 1 is basically the same for pre-sales and sales roles. There's a slight difference, which I'll point out throughout my preso here. But you guys will benefit if you're either a technical guy or a sales guy. Both of you will benefit from the content presented here. And this is supposed to be a straight to the point summary of the content. And the full content you can access from the page on the registration here, which is this Sales Connect link, which we will copy into the chat section right now, probably, so that you guys can click on that link and you can access after logging in with your Cisco CCO. When you access the link, let me do that right now. Let me head over to my browser over here. You guys can see my browser, right?
Sure can.
Yep. LMC. Yep, there we go. So this is the link that you need to access to register to Firejumper Stage 1. I'm sending that through the chat. Sign up for Stage 1 here, Stage 1. So I've already registered for it, but if you haven't, after you sign in with your CCO ID, you'll have a register button here. So you just click on register and all the content will be available for you. From that point onwards, you can go through the full content as you wish. But basically what we've done, we've taken the additional resources here and some of the video content and we've summarized it in this session right here so that you guys can get all the information you need to take on the quiz, right? So after you go through this session, we expect you to be ready to take on the quiz. It's a quiz comprised of 20 questions and you get 3 shots at it, right? So we will incentivize you to go through the quiz after this session. You have a goal and see how prepared you are. If you don't feel comfortable to take a second try, then just let us know. We can walk through the second try, for example. And all the while, you can access the full content. You can download the official presentations from this slides from here as well. And after going through through Stage 1 and being approved on the quiz, you'll be awarded a certificate. And this certificate, we expect you to send us the certificate to actually be awarded points for Comstor Heroes, right? So please make sure you click on the link that you can access in the chat section of the WebEx. Register for it. So after you guys register, or you can do that at the end of the session. That's all right. We're going to go through the content in a summarized way, and finally, if you guys feel ready, you feel good, you can give it a go at the exam, and you can understand if this was all you needed, or if you need more support to be awarded Stage 1, we can help you. Kim and I can help you later on to do that. So what are we covering here? What's all the fuss about Stage 1 for Firejumper? Look, Firejumper Stage 1 is basically covering, we're basically gonna go through what is the Cisco security portfolio like in 2020, why would customers consider Cisco security in their environments, and finally, at the end of the session, we're gonna have a few slides on how to sell it, right? So looking at what is Cisco security portfolio, we're going to discuss what is the Cisco security platform and the zero trust architecture. Zero trust architecture is one of the main focuses for our fiscal year here, for fiscal year 2021 now. And it's one of the most important topics top of mind of customers nowadays. Why Cisco security includes topics like our differentials like Talos and Cisco security services. And finally, how to sell it. We have solution positioning for sales people. How would they approach people from different roles within a company, and how would they be able to assess if they need Cisco security, if Cisco security is a good fit for them or not, and so on and so forth. And finally, at the end, we're going to go through a program from Cisco, a program called Cisco Safe that is meant for pre-sales. It's a full-blown package with design and architecture implementation guides and content so that we can, as pre-sales, create designs for customers based on capabilities, products, and finally on the design itself. So it's a full-blown architecture program for us to take on. So let's look at the Cisco Security Platform. So the Cisco Security Platform, currently it's all about protecting business with the best security team on the planet, with the strongest security team on the planet, right? We are looking at best of breed products, meaning we have the best solutions in all the, at least if not the best, one of the best solutions in all markets that we have solutions for and products for. And that is valid for a cloud solution, for our segmentation solutions, for our visibility, if that is either on-premise visibility or cloud visibility. We have solutions that are top of line for all these products, for all these product lines, and for endpoint security as well, and so on and so forth. So best of breed. And our security platform is based on trust verification. So at all times, we have products that allow us to perform continuous trust verification in users, in applications, and if devices are connecting back to our network, right? All the while, we are applying constant threat intelligence to every single flow that we see navigating through our trafficking through our network. So these are the three pillars, I would say, from the Cisco security platform. And how does it stand apart then from competition or from other vendors? Basically from its deep networking. So we are aligned to the larger network part of the network. We have open and integrated platforms, and this is a big topic for us. Every single product of our security platform nowadays have open APIs that can integrate with third-party vendors, and most importantly, that can integrate with themselves and with effectively new platforms like SecureX, for example. Everything is focused on simplicity, and most products here are cloud delivered, which is great. So we also have platform level responsive analytics, management, and products and services for every business. So if we had to summarize what are then the main aspects of Cisco security platform, I would say that we have a reduced complexity platform for customers. We have powerful platforms because we have best of breed products there. And we have unparalleled expertise that can help you guys support your customers. Being by rely on Cisco's pre-sales team or tech, or even post-sales engagements that customers can rely on to actually buy, right, as part of the security services. And finally, everything is open from a nature. So it means that they can integrate and share intelligence data with other products. So if you look at our security platform and everything that I'm saying, we believe that it's time for security teams to act as a team. So we believe that security products should not just be silos, rather they should be sharing information and sharing what they know with other products, even if they're not Cisco, so that our customers get the benefit of everything that they have actually invested on, right? What that means then is that Cisco is relying on security standards that are known for all across the industries, many industries there. Everything is relying on open APIs, as I said before, published open source. For our IPS, for example, Snort is the leading open source IPS in the market there that many people develop stuff upon. We have technology that is validated by industries. And finally, we can share then not only data and not only threat intelligence information, if that's what they need with Umbrella, for example, or threat grid. Not only can we share this data to other products, but we can also share policy and context in between our products. And finally, we have the telesecurity expertise. So if we're summarizing also why our security platform is very relevant to our customers, it's because of streamlined policies and device updates and shared data with other security vendors. So this is the security platform, and these are the pillars of our current portfolio, if I would have to explain it to a customer nowadays. So being open, being able to share with other products, and being able to apply policies seamlessly and streamline policies through products. So let's now look at the zero trust architecture. So the zero trust architecture, it's basically a response to a shift in the IT landscape. So if we look at how networks used to be built a few decades ago or years ago, you would basically rely on a perimeter, right? On a network that was always on all servers, all applications were being secured by one point of contact to the outer internet. So that would be your perimeter, and you would be relying on a firewall or some sort of proxy to actually look at all the traffic coming and going through your apps and your users' data and the internet. And that was true for a number of years, but now we have remote users connecting back to your network, contractors, third parties. We have personal devices. So BYOD came in. Thank you, Apple. That's great, by the way. Apple and BlackBerry. We have IoT devices connecting to our networks, cloud applications, and so on and so forth. So you know the challenges, right? This became not only technology challenges, but business challenges as well. How do we make sure that we are not allowing excessive trust to everything that's connecting back to our networks nowadays, right? So having this many people and this many attack surface, or this increase in the attack surface, has led us to a number of questions that many times our customers are unable to answer because they don't have a zero trust architecture in place, right? And this is all caused because of excessive trust. So we need to propose our customers, or make sure that our customers are aware that there is a better way to secure, or there's a way to secure all this sort of different devices connecting back to your network. And the answer is zero trust, right? So how can you view connections, all the connections that are coming and going through your data center, for example? How are you securing your workload? How are you sure that your users are who they say they are? How do you make sure that only the users that are supposed to have access to a specific application are actually being granted access to that application? Is someone from a different department trying to access a folder that they shouldn't have access to? So all these sort of questions that are related to access and trust, they are relevant here, and more relevant nowadays with this shift in the IT landscape. So our answer for this, the Cisco Zero Trust architecture, is based on three pillars, I would say. Workforce, so security for users, so ensuring that only the right users are connecting to correct applications. So workforce security is the first pillar there. Workplace security is the second one. So ensuring that devices, that user devices connections across the network and IoT are always verified and allowed. And finally, workload, we're making sure that we're investigating micro-segmenting all applications, all servers sitting in our environment. And that is a multi-cloud approach, right? Because nowadays, most customers have a multi-cloud approach on their networks, on their environments. So they have servers sitting on their data center, but they also have some public workloads on public clouds, and so on and so forth. So you need a solution that provides you micro-segmentation across multi-cloud as well, and we got. So if we had to summarize it, Zero Trust, Cisco Zero Trust is a holistic solution for protecting the IT environment, right? And not many not every vendor will have a solution that encompasses everything on their network, on their customer's network. This is why the Cisco Zero Trust is appealing for customers, right? Because we can cover all bases from a given environment. And just before we move on, I think it's important to point out what its workload. So workload is basically a number of containers and APIs within application, and containers and APIs within applications, apps, or databases. So number of data that's sitting on your customers' compute systems, I would say, right? Or just basically something that an application that's sitting in your customer's data center or public cloud. So what is our zero trust approach then? It's about security, right? Access to the workforce, workload, and workplace, as I said before. And as I pointed out before, workforce then is focused on securing user and device access. So verifying that the users are who they say they are, that the devices that they're connecting from is not breached and is not running any outdated software, for example. So device hygiene, basic checks that actually help a lot with ensuring that we're not increasing our attack with excessive trust, right? So this is workforce. Workload then is just relying on application and workload access. So once again, looking at applications and servers, this is basically what a workload would be there, sitting anywhere. And finally, workplace, securing network access, no matter what sort of network access that is, from users, from devices, from IoT devices, from printers, and so on and so forth. So what does this look like from a sales perspective? Workforce would be securing users and the devices connecting to applications, workload, protecting connections within apps, and finally, workplace is connecting securely. So if you have to take that message to a customer, think of these messages right there. And looking from a product perspective, then I would say that Duo would be a good solution for the workforce. This is why this is because it enforces it enforces device hygiene, making sure that it's not running outdated software. For the workload, we have Tetration, who is this multi-cloud, this product that supports multi-cloud and workload environments that is able then to micro-segment, to create policies based on even Kubernetes and serverless applications. If you have something that needs to be spun up in a matter of minutes, Tetration is the product that can secure that sort of environment and also protect stationary and more static applications, I would say. And finally, for the workplace, SD Access is the solution that we would position for our customers for a zero trust environment, right? So SD Access is a number of products that make sure that we are always inspecting who's connecting to the network, where they're coming from, what device is connecting to the network, and so on and so forth. So SD Access would be comprised of a number of network devices and ICE, for example. ICE would then create the policies, enforce the policies, and so on and so forth. And what would you ask customers for each of this sort of pillars for zero trust? How would you find out that your customer needs zero trust, for example? So to find out if they need workforce, you could ask them how they really know that they're if they are sure that who's connecting back to the network is who they say they are. So can they trust who's logging in? Can they trust the device they're logging in from? From a workload perspective, how can they ensure that the applications are not infected? That's a typo. That's a typo right there. That's supposed to be a not. Can they see everything that is running on their applications on their data center? These are useful questions to make sure that we know that Tetration would be useful. And finally, for SD Access, are you enforcing the correct level of access in your network? Are you segmenting IoT devices from your corporate network? Do users have access to, do the right users have right access to the right folders within their directories, for example, and so forth. So from a workforce perspective, how to verify it, there's multiple steps. You can verify user's identity using MFA. You can gain device visibility with endpoint health and management status, and enforcing policy with every app with Duo. So this is how you would verify trust. Workloads then is about gaining visibility into what's running on your customer's data center and what's critical. So identifying the workloads and enforcing policies. Containing the breaches if there's ever one. So being able to enforce some shifts in policies. So this is important. Not only do you need to see what's going on, but you need the ability to actually take action upon it. And finally, alerting or blocking communication if any policy is violated. And just closing in on workloads here, it's important that is able to support multi-cloud, right? No matter where the application is sitting, and nowadays we have this mixed and hybrid hybrid cloud environments. We need solutions that support these environments. Finally, for workplace, verifying then trust or verifying devices when they're accessing the network. It's all about network authentication and authorization, segmentation, and finally, continuously monitoring it, right? So it's a number of things in this scenario, because then when we're talking about workplace, we're talking about many different technologies. So we're talking about wireless connection, wired. We're talking about maybe even data center, if you think about the network itself. How are you making sure that you have full visibility of everything that's going on and enforcing the right policies at every step of the way? So you need to have a comprehensive solution, right? It's not just one product here. And our zero trust architecture supports multiple integrations. So it supports multi-cloud environments that are running Google, Kubernetes, Azure, that are running on Azure, on AWS, or being virtualized. Azure Kubernetes service is the quickest way to use Sorry, that was Google. Google's listening. And that support any third party. So especially Duo. Duo is quite powerful in what it can integrate with, and that's quite relevant here. And also a workplace solution can integrate with many other vendors there, so that's really interesting and relevant to customers, right? So the zero trust architecture is comprised of those three pillars that I said: Duo, iteration, and SD access. And it's a holistic approach to the entire environment, right? It's not a point-in-time product that can do that. Cool. So that's two topics down. Now let's talk about Talos. Talos is, as you know, it's a group of security experts that work for Cisco, but they're just they're not developing products, right? They're just looking at security threats and threats out there in the world, and they're performing research on top of what they find out in the wild. And they basically create full-blown reports based on threat intelligence there, detection research. They develop engines as well, so they program and they can effectively create free, they're generally free for anyone to use, not just Cisco customers, but for people across the world to use it. They also perform their vulnerability research and discovery. So it's a lot of services that fits under the Talos group there. And they are the largest private threat intelligence organization in the world, right? And this is all the result of Talos not being an acquisition, right? Talos was not acquired by Cisco. Rather, it's comprised of multiple security experts that came in from acquisitions that Cisco made, made in the past, right? So Cisco acquired companies, and the security experts came in as an extra, I would say. And basically, those security experts focused on threat intelligence and research. They are all part of Talos. So Talos itself, it's not an acquisition. And the main benefits of Talos versus other threat intelligences in the market, it's unmatched visibility. So why is this important? Well, the more you're able to see, the more you are able to block, right? And this is something that no other vendor can match out there. So the breadth of products that we have, security products that we have, and customers that we have is unmatched by any other vendors. So we are actively gathering data, threat intelligence data from customers who, of course, are allowing us to. So they need to allow us to, but if they're willing to share their threat intelligence information, their IPS, their email security, their cloud security with Umbrella, with WSA, for example, CES, their endpoint security, the RPS, their firewall, all the security products, anything malicious and any new file that traverses through them is reported back to Talos. Talos then basically analyzes with Threat Grid, that is part of the services itself, of the products that the customers have. Threat Grid would analyze it, and then the report is going to be sent to Talos, right? And if there's anything that is standing out in the wild as something that is part of a larger persistent threat, then it's when the researchers can come in and they analyze not just file samples, but a larger attack that they may be doing, right? So Talos is actively providing us actionable intelligence, right? So to all products in our network, in our customers' networks. And it's all about collective response, right? So the ability to bring rapid response to all customers, right? Because the more we see, the faster we're able to propagate knowledge and threat intelligence to all our customers across the world, right? Now there are some noteworthy threats that Talos was known to block, most notably their VPN filter. I would say you can find the reports for all of those there in the Talos blog, and it covers everything in our portfolio, right? So product telemetry, data sharing across all our many products there. So this is Talos, right? This the biggest, largest threat intelligence in the market. That is a conjunction of all security experts that came in from multiple acquisitions, but they're also effectively hiring new people to work for their organization themselves. So they're actually working separately from the product side of things. Cool. Now let's look at security services. Are we going to in terms of time? Yep. Oh, good. So security services, this is something important for people who are starting out with selling Cisco. So what are the Cisco products that Cisco can provide to customers themselves? So imagine you're an MSSP or you're a provider, and you have your own in-house experts to deploy and provide services. So if you're that kind of customer, perhaps those services would not appeal to you because you have your own experts. But if the customer perhaps is too big and they want the expertise from the vendor themselves, this is where security services come in. Cisco will have security services for every customer segment, so from small to very large, basically. And there are 4 service buckets, that's what they call it, basically. So there are advisory services, implementation services that Cisco offer, business critical services, and software support services. So you can see by their names that they're pretty straightforward in what they do. And they can appeal to customers that have their specific needs. Now, from a Firejumper perspective, it's important that you understand how to engage the Cisco services team. So I would point out, and I would say that it's important to know how to qualify the request before engaging their team. And these are some of the matters that we need to be looking at when we're qualifying security services, right? We need to understand their pain points, their timelines, customers' budget as well. If they're looking at any other services from competitors. And finally, what's the level of influence that Cisco would have in the customer. So if the customer has a lot of Cisco products and they really have an appeal to the Cisco brand, then perhaps this would be this could be relevant to them, right? Also, if they are deploying a very large if they have a very large deployment and deploying a very complex product like Stealthwatch. Stealthwatch is the one that first comes to mind here, Stealthwatch Enterprise. Or if they're deploying titration, for example, these are very complex products to deploy if you don't know what you're doing, right? And the regular reseller, I can tell, won't know, but that's all right. And that's where Cisco Security Services come in. So just make sure you know what the request is. Make sure you qualify it before asking and engaging the Cisco CX team. And how do you engage them? Using the account team directory lookup. These are two important information to have in mind when taking the exam. That's what I'm saying here. And so there are a number of security services that are good for large customers. So most of them will be interesting for large customers, as you can see here. Why is that? Well, large customers are generally more complex environments, so they will be needing more advanced deployment information and deployment support. This is why. For medium customers, I would say incident response and retainer, as you can see there, and enhanced software support. And finally, for small customers, which is the largest number of customers here in New Zealand, there are a number of free services that Cisco and distribution, meaning us, Comstor, we offer customers. So software support and webinars, the expert sessions, which are generally set up by Cisco themselves, and they even have these ask the expert sessions that are done in very frequently. I guess every month they would have them, especially in the COVID and the whole COVID situation there. Cisco Australia, they were holding a large amount of ask the expert sessions for customers and for partners. People would just jump in and they would have an open room of experts joining that session from the Cisco side, and they would just be answering technical queries from customers. So that's one of the benefits as well of relying on a vendor like Cisco as well. So they have partners, they have engineers that are supporting the partners actively like that. So this is what is relevant from a Cisco services perspective. Now the security solution positioning. This is a topic important, especially from a sales perspective. I'll tell you why. Looking at the common challenges for everyone dealing with security, right? So these are the main common challenges there. So not having enough time, not having enough experts in the team, and not having evidence, not having visibility of what's going on in the network. So these are common challenges when dealing with security. And these challenges, they are looked at by everyone in a customer's company. And everyone looking at security is generally these people over here, right? So these are the people who are dedicated to security in the customer's environment. So these are comprised of CISOs, security architectures, and directors, security operations manager, endpoint and email administrators, cloud and network buyers. So there are many levels of some of them are very technical, some of them are technical. So how do you make sure that you know how to talk to each of them? And when you're engaging with one of them, how can you ensure that you're positioning the right product or the right solution even for each one of them? Now, I will not get into details for each one of them here, but if you're interested in that, and I found that that presentation and that slide deck specifically for this section very interesting, because it's something that it's something that it's not out there, it's subtle, and by just having a look, it's actually, there's a lot to learn here. But I would point out that CISO's primary concerns are more technical and more towards compliance, right? So they're looking at metrics, they're looking at costs, and how their business is secure while attracting and retaining top talent, right? So these are their priorities over here, and how to make you well, what would you hear from one of them there? So this is all interesting and relevant stuff for you to study when going and meeting a customer and so on and so forth. So I would recommend, I would very much recommend you guys slide deck in depth. There's a specific slide deck that is available in that Sales Connect page that I sent you guys. So take a look at that later on. But pointing out that CISO is important over here, understand that they're looking at compliance goals. Security architectures are basically looking at design, integration, and acquisition of solutions. SecOps managers are looking at upgrading existing tools, deploying tools, and ensuring security is not a bottleneck. Email administrators are looking at everything that is concerning emails and security, of course. So what that means is, are they blocking the right threats? Are they responding to the threats while keeping their companies and corporate emails functioning? How much time are they spending on analyzing logs from their emails and their security threat intelligence? So these are all relevant matters for email administrators. Endpoint administrators are looking at the quality of their endpoints on their environment, or can they protect endpoints while on and off the network when using the VPN, for example. These guys are generally looking at becoming threat experts because, well, all the threats are out there. They're mainly executing in endpoints, and these guys analyzing endpoint threats, they're generally very interested in the technology part of things there. So looking at the buyer's persona, when talking to someone who's responsible for a cloud buyer, just make sure you're talking about reducing shadow IT exposure, having cloud services visibility, having full-on availability, and managing governance in hybrid cloud. So these are topics that these guys would be interested in. So you have to be on par with these technologies and these topics when talking to them. Now, network buyers, this is mostly what I work with, especially coming from a Cisco background there. So we need to be sure that we know how to talk about securing the network while, of course, maintaining an operational visibility across infrastructure and securing network and devices that are running upon it. So these are all the personas, the 7 personas, and these are some of the main aspects of why they would buy, and you have to keep them in mind for the exam. And I've made sure to add all the slides here as a reference if you're taking the exam now, to make sure you are carrying all the information that you need. Now, from a Cisco Safe perspective, now when you look at this name and every single document from Cisco that you see, and from having worked with Cisco, you would think that SAFE is an acronym. It's not an acronym. It's just a name for it, right? It doesn't mean anything. It means that it's the Cisco method and methodology for designing solutions, right? So this is what it is. It's great for pre-sales, right? It's about being able to establish workflow and a way for you to discuss a whiteboard presentation with the customer, for example, list all their environments use cases and what capabilities are needed for use cases. Finally, once you list all the capabilities, you will then start looking at architecture. So what products would encompass and include those capabilities, to then finally proposing to your customer design. Now, the good thing about SAFE is that it's not meant to only cover Cisco products. This sort of modeling and design architecture methodology, it's actually good for any number of vendors out there. It's good for any security professional to be across this sort of methodology, because it will help you with whatever you're doing from a security perspective even. So SAFE is about protecting applications as well. So protecting network design or creating a network design there, and identifying if the customer is interested in a proof of concept, and so on and so forth. So it's a full sales cycle from a technical perspective. So it includes discussing with technical peers what the use cases are, then helping them out with the capabilities, perhaps running a proof of concept once you establish that they need a certain product. Once you know that they need a certain product, then you need to find out if Cisco is a good fit for them. Running proof of concept will help you decide that. And depending on the outcomes of it, you can finally have then these the decision based on actual evidence. And this is great from a pre-sales perspective. Why is SAFE so relevant? Well, if you look at the history of security architecture, sorry, my PowerPoint just crashed. This happens, I guess. Let me go back to where I was. So we were looking at the history of the security architecture. So the history of security architecture. So if you think about what network was like, and we discussed this at the beginning of this conversation when we talked about the Cisco, well, the zero trust architecture, right? So zero trust is, as I said, is a response to the shift in the IT landscape, and this is basically the same thing. We were discussing that back in the days, networks were very simple in terms of design. They were just relying on one point of access to the internet, and you would know effective devices that you have in your network and so on and so forth. This had a very small attack surface, which was great for security. Then early 90s, we started having simple networks with switching a few devices on the network, accessing data center and banks online. Late 90s, we started having more devices, but still everything in control because we still didn't have BYOD, or BYOD was not as pervasive as nowadays. Then it's early 2000s, we were introduced to mobility and wireless technologies. So I remember back in 2004, I first read about Wi-Fi and how a video game console with Wi-Fi, and they would have Wi-Fi availables in coffee shops, and I would be able to play online with coffee shops. And that to me was something out of this world. That was early 2000s, and I was not even worried about working anymore. But this was the concept of mobility being introduced to our everyday lives, and so it was also introduced to corporations. And at one point in time, we reached today's networks, which is just mad, right? So we have multiple devices, BYOD devices, IoT devices, multiple multi-cloud environments, data cross cloud to cloud interconnection, with data being owned by still the same corporation. So it's a mess. And this greatly enhanced our attack surface. So it only increased our job as security engineers. So this is why SAFE is a methodology for us to put in place and to look at this very large attacks from a methodical way, right? So the key to SAFE, I would say, is basically three. It's a reference documentation from Cisco. It's free. If you're a Cisco partner with a Cisco access, you can access this design guides from Cisco, this documentation, which is great. Just the other day, I was referencing this partner who's working with IoT devices, and one of the guides that Cisco has for SAFE is actually targeted at IoT environments. So I just worked with them with this IoT reference guide and show them what we can offer, but not only that, what they need to be looking at when looking at IoT networks. So it's a reference documentation, and it tells us, it gives us practices for securing businesses. So it's targeted at securing businesses. And it not only can it be applied to new networks, which is interesting, but also to existing environments. So we're looking firstly at use cases, right? So protecting use cases and starting from what you need. It's looking at what you need, not what Cisco sells. This is the great stuff there. Now, if you look at the full documentation, you'll understand what's the reasoning behind all these sections that they segment this methodology in. I'm not going to get in details here, but basically it allows us to secure everything in our network, looking for many different use cases for every single places in the network, as you can see there. So looking at WAN use cases, so remote workers connecting back to the internet, or services that are or SaaS services crossing our WAN links. How should we secure them? What sort of security capabilities do we need them, and so on and so forth. So it's about a solution design and validated designs, right? So if you're satisfied with the use cases and the capabilities, if you're looking at deploying a Cisco solution for that, which all these guides have at the end of them, then it will tell you validated designs by Cisco, which is great. So you can rest assured that they will work as they should and as it was promised. And this is how it would look like from a capabilities perspective, right? So this is the use case over here. So you can see that we have different use cases that we're inspecting and researching effectively and coming up with a security design for all these use cases. So the first one of them would be to secure web access for employees. So that's the use case. So what is that? What is this business flow? So we're securing the access from this employee to the website. What do we have in between? What sort of capabilities do we need to have? And these are agnostic security capabilities. These are not Cisco ones only. So you need to have some sort of client-based security. This would be your endpoint antivirus, for example. You need to verify the user's identity, make sure that their device is not infected in order to connect to the network. You are making use of a firewall that is inspecting every single traffic in their device. You're applying intrusion prevention, flow analytics, threat intelligence, anti-malware tagging in that flow if that requires QoS. So perhaps tagging is very relevant to your customer. Finally, applying application visibility and web security until they reach the third-party services, which is out of our control. So this is everything that we need in our network to make sure that we are doing our best and doing everything we can to protect this employee when they're accessing the website, a website. And much like this example, in these guides, you will find many other examples in use cases that will list out capabilities for them. But the whole thing about SAFE is not giving you every single and listing you every single use case that is out there. It's showing you how to do it so that you can do that to customers. So as a solution engineer and a pre-sales engineer, this is what I would go for. This is what I go for actually when having conversations about designing and whiteboarding with customers. So understanding the use cases, finding out the capabilities, right? This is the first step, finding out the capabilities there, finding out the architectures for the business. So for example, we have the use case here with the secure web. This is the flow. Then you're finally at the second stage, you're starting to aggregate the devices. So this green icons, they indicate a product that includes multiple capabilities, and capabilities are the blue icons over here. So this user is coming through this specific device that is providing them these capabilities. Then he flows over to the network that's providing him wireless. This is the wireless controller over here, which is inspecting traffic. Finally, he reaches the network, which is through a switch. There's the switch symbol over here. The switch is providing identity visibility, tagging, and so on and so forth. The switch then is talking to the core router. The core router is doing a bunch of stuff. You may have a firewall over here that is not integrated with the router. In this case, this router is performing all the security inspection as well. But this helps you and your customer understand what they need in their architecture, right? And More than that, it helps you design their network with them, so that you're providing value add to them there. And finally, designing the final design with Cisco products, if that's what you're looking for and if that's what the customer is going for. So finally, the last stage would be to design the architecture with Cisco products in them, and reaching out to specific use and knowing what they need to buy, creating the bill of material. So it's a full approach to a sales cycle, an intelligent sales cycle with the customer. And this toolkit, this is part of a toolkit, right? So this methodology is part of the toolkit. They have the reference security architecture guides, which are PDFs. They have blueprint templates, and you can basically customize this to your environment. So you as an engineer and a network designer, you can rely on this, basically these assets to create your designs. And these assets are available for Visio, for Lucid Chart if you use it via the web. I use a different app to design my networks, which is a free app, but that free app has all these icons in them already. It's already inbuilt, it's completely web-based, and it's great. So that is already included in that one, and in Lucid Chart as well. And it's included in PowerPoint assets as well, which you can find in the cisco.com/go page. So this is what I had to share with you guys. Now I would incentivize you guys and ask you to head back to that page that I sent you through the chat. So if you're interested in doing that right now, just give it a go, right? So is that the right one here? Yeah, doesn't look like it's right. So just go to that link over there, and I'm going to share this over the WebEx Teams page as well. What is this one? This is the Firejumper. This is the safe one. Okay. Cool.
Sorry, Andre. Yeah, I posted the safe Sales Connect link there as well.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Hey,
Yeah,
just a
sorry,
reminder. Just a reminder to everyone: when you go to the link that Andre has popped there, this black belt, powered by Firejumper pre-sales stage 1, where there's an icon there that says share. If you've gone to this for the first time, that'll say register. So
Yep.
make sure you click on register, and then that opens up the content to you, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right, Kim. Thanks for pointing out. So this is the pre-sales track. With the content we shared with you, you should be able to take the pre-sales track if you wish. But if you're interested in the sales one, we can also share the link to the sales one. So Firejumper stage 1 sales track. Let me see if I can find it out. There you go. I got lucky. There we go. So this is the sales one. So let me share the sales one with you as well. So if you are working more with sales than pre-sales, just click on that second link, and you'll then be able to take on the content in the exam there. And hopefully you're able to pass with the. If you're not, then just talk to Kim and I, and we'll be able to help you out separately in a different session. Basically through a call or through a WebEx, we can help you guys out.
Yeah, just to put some context around it, the exam is 20 multi-choice questions with an 80% pass rate. I did the exam, that first one. I thought I'd already done it, but it turns out I hadn't. So at the very start of this WebEx, I did the exam. It took me about 6 minutes or 7 minutes, and it covers very generic, broad concepts that Andre has talked about, and he's in fact given us a lot of the answers already. So have a crack.
That's lucky.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
That's right. It's pretty simple. It's about giving you the idea of everything that we discussed. Thanks, Cam. So the next steps I would suggest is then you guys go through stage 1, send the certificate back to me. So once you go through the exam, I said before, you'll be able to find the view certificate button. Click there, download that certificate. There'll be a download link there. Not sure why it's not loading. But there will be a download link, or just screenshot back to me. Once we confirm it, we'll award you some points for the Comstor Heroes program. If you're still not part of the Comstor Hero program, just let us know. Finally, we will recommend you to attend stage 2 for Firejumper visibility and segmentation. So this is the tech key, the pre-sales Firejumper track, I would say. So if you're a pre-sales guy and you're interested in learning about Duo, Stealth Watch Cloud, so on and so forth, you just join us on this next session on the August 20th. Why are we doing this? Because on September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we are delivering stage 3 for visibility and segmentation as well. And that is going to be in conjunction with Cisco Australia and Comstor Australia as well. So it's going to be a whole bunch of partners in there. So if you're interested, just jump on the wagon and we'll do it together. Are there any questions?
There are no questions in the Q&A as yet, Andre, that haven't been responded to, but what I will just add is if you want to get hands-on with a product like Duo, Cisco have extended the incredible NFR deals for internal lab use. So if you want to get some obligation-free licenses for Duo Beyond, which is the top SKU with all the granular policy control for users, devices, and applications, get in touch with Andre. Sorry?
I want that, Cam. How do I do that?
Yeah, sure. Just get in touch with Andre or myself. It'll cost you pretty much nothing, and we can do potentially up to 3-year licenses. So stand it up in your labs, get familiar with it, and go out there and achieve zero trust for workforce.
Yay. Cool, that's it. Thank you everyone for joining. Make sure you click us any questions you have, any support that you need. I'll be sure to be pestering you over WebEx Teams if you have joined our room. Thank you.